Hello, I'm Lucas and I'm with PS Arts. For this PS Arts To Go project, we'll be making mini embroidery squares featuring symbols inspired by some of our favorite memories. This project is inspired by Oakland-based artist Zina Hall. Zina Hall specializes in quilting and embroidery, and she's most known for her work depicting African-American music icons. Zina is also a member of Creative Growth, which is a nonprofit organization that advances the inclusion of artists with developmental disabilities in contemporary art. Let's start with our own embroidery inspired by Zina Hall, and here's what you need to get started. You need a burlap square, some colorful yarn or thread, a pair of safety scissors, an embroidery needle, your imagination, and a grown-up to help you. To get some inspiration for your artwork, take a moment to reflect. What's your favorite memory with your friends? Is it going to the beach, playing a game? When thinking of your memory, what symbols or images come to mind? For instance, we have this example here. This artist chose the desert. They have a lot of memories with their family that involve the desert, so they made a little cactus and a sun here. Another example, this here is a little foot that someone did. The artists, they have a lot of beautiful memories with their children, going to the beach, and they chose to make just a little footprint on their embroidery square. So as you've seen some of the examples, pick just one symbol or shape that you can think that matches your memory. For example, if your favorite memory is going to the beach, maybe you do the sun, maybe you do a surfboard, maybe it's going to the park, maybe you make a slide. So just keep in mind, what is a symbol associated with that memory? Have your symbol? All right, let's get started. Step 1, take a piece of the purple yarn and thread it into the plastic needle. Make sure to tie the yarn into a knot around the plastic needle to avoid it from slipping out. Kind of like this. So you have this needle with the yarn threaded through. Step 2, we're going to make an outline around the burlap square. So to do that, we're going to take the yarn and pierce it through the underside of the burlap. And using 2 to 3 fingers, we're going to measure out, going over the fingers and piercing it back through. So we have this line here. And we're basically just going to continue that process. We're going to go under, kind of like this, and continue the same process of using 2 to 3 fingers. And we're going to follow that pattern until we make an outline around the burlap square. So if you're halfway through your border, it should look something like this. So when you've reached about halfway through your border, it should look something like this. As you can see, we have about 2 to 3 fingers worth of running stitches going on either side. So yeah, let's go ahead and start finishing off the rest of our border. All right, so we have just about completed our border. And just to take a look at the backside, this is what the backside might look like. And now we're on to step 3. What we're gonna do now is we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut off this extra slack right here. And then we're going to tie off the knot like this, just to make sure that the yarn doesn't pull through. I like to double knot it just to give it that extra strength. So we have our completed border. So yeah, that is what things should look like at the moment. So step 4, we're going to take our rainbow yarn And we're going to thread it into the needle so we can start making our shape or our symbol into our burlap square. So we still have our purple yarn threaded into the needle. All you need to do is just untie that knot. And if you need extra help, feel free to reach out to your grown-up or a friend if you're doing it with a friend, just so we can add a new thread of yarn into our needle. And to do that, just as we did with the border, we're going to thread our yarn into the needle, such as follows. And then we're going to tie it off again, like this. Do you remember how I asked about the symbol that you thought of a favorite memory? Tune back into that symbol, because that is going to be the symbol or the shape that we're going to thread into our burlap square. We're going to take our thread attached to our needle, and we're going to pierce it into the burlap underneath the square like this. A lot of my memories that I think of do involve the beach or involve the sunshine, so I think I'm going to make a sun today. And just as we did before, we're going to use our running stitch technique to start from under the square, and then just keep looping it under and over in the little holes in the burlap. All right, and I have just finished making all the little triangle pointy things of my sun rays, whatever you want to call them. And I am going to take my last little threads and tie them off. So maybe the front looks something like this, and the back side looks something like this. And as you see, I have some of these stringies here. You can either leave them like this if you like. I personally like to just clean it up a little bit so I don't have any stragglers of the yarn. But as you can see, each of these knots are tied off, so when you pull on it, it doesn't fall through. All right, so after you've tied off and trimmed off all of the excess thread, you should have your little embroidery square with your symbol and the border complete. And you can either leave the square as is, or maybe you and the grown-up that you're with can all take your squares together and put them together by stitching them together, or whichever way works for you, and make a little quilt, symbolizing how all of us are connected through our creativity and how we can all create belonging through the art that we make. Visit psarts.org/to-go to access printable instructions and the materials for this project. There you'll also find some more PS Arts to Go projects, so be sure to post your projects and tag PS Arts so we can see all your beautiful creations. And remember, you have the freedom to imagine and the power to create.